We are at COP26 at the Scottish Event Campus in Glasgow, UK. And it's a pleasure to have everybody joining here with us. So we have this is a hybrid event, so we have few of the participants joining us here physically, and everybody that's joining us virtually. Hello, welcome to you as well. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Let's start with the program for today. And before we do that, let me introduce myself very briefly. I'm Aditya Putta. I am an investment associate officer at World Startup. We have been hired by the DFCD to help manage the fund. I think a lot of you might have already looked it up. DFCD, or the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development, is a 160 million euro fund that is set up by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it is being managed by FMO, SNV, WWF, and the CFM. And we also have the representatives from these organizations joining here today as our expert panel as well. I'd like to quickly run you through the program for today. First of all, we're going to have a welcome note from Art Mulder, who is the fund manager for DFCD. Followed by this, we're going to have a keynote from Kitty van der Heijden from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Followed by this, we will be doing a pitch competition of sorts with the top 3 projects that were selected from the challenge. What I'd like you to know is that all the 3 projects are winners because they qualified from over 120 applications that we had to process this year. They're all going to receive grant support from DFCD, and they're expected to receive larger support in terms of investments at a later stage as well. Yeah? However, today we will have them. We will be giving away an additional 100,000 euros of grant financing, and that will be decided with the presentation competition that we'll have today, basically. All right. Well, welcome everybody that just joined us over here. I'd actually like to go through quickly the rules of engagement for today. And this is mainly for people joining us online. Please keep your microphones muted at all points of time if you're not speaking. And if you'd like to say something, please use raise the hand option in Zoom. Yeah? And also for people that are joining us here physically, I see you're very engaged right now, and only 2 of you are on your phones. A request for you. I understand if you're making some notes, or if you have to do something, you have to do something. I would like to request you to try and keep your phones and laptops away, just for this 1 hour, 15 minutes. Would really appreciate that. Thank you. Well, I'd like to give the word to Art Mulder, who is the fund manager of the DFCD, for the welcome note.
Thank you very much, Adi, and we are so extremely happy to be here. Indeed, my name is Art Mulder from the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development. Talking about this unique session here in Glasgow, I think it's good that we will have 2 things provided for today in this session. One of them actually that we will see 3 fantastic entrepreneurial cases being pitched from countries that really need such a solution. And secondly, also that we realize there's so much money in the world, but it's not really dedicated money towards the project that really need it, towards the countries that really need these money flows. And so at the end of this session, we will also provide a solution. Actually, we will provide some striking news on huge money flows. We talk about a couple of $100 million that will be mobilized via an anchor investment of the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development. So 3 business cases actually addressing the issue of not sufficient project in the world to address climate change. That's one. And secondly, also mobilizing money to make it also bigger, and again, bigger to address climate change in the world and to become more resilient. If we talk about DFCD, the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development, then actually there are two real issues what we try to address in the market of climate change. And we have a kind of graph that's now shown on the screen. One issue is actually that we see that if you want to have projects realized, you need to work together with partners in order to really establish projects, initiate projects, and bring them towards a financeable stage, so-called bankability. So we have, with the Dutch Fund for Climate Development, a consortium of 4 partners, and 2 partners have a very elaborate network, SMV and World Wildlife Fund, WWF. So what they do actually is they work together with local entrepreneurs in order to bring projects towards this financeable stage. So partnership with feet on the ground, and from a landscape perspective. These partners work from a landscape perspective, not only looking at individual projects, but really look from a broader scale whether it makes sense from an environmental perspective, and also from a perspective from the involved stakeholders and communities. So that's one. The second thing is you can have partnership everywhere, you can have local networks everywhere, but you also need the right money flows to do that, but the right money flows that's not too expensive. We call that blended funding. So the first development of projects needs to be done with grant funding, and that's available from the Dutch Fund for Climate Development. And regularly we go towards a financing stage where you can reduce the grant part of the funding and provide a long-term finance solution. But even this long-term finance solution, if you talk about climate adaptation, so a project that's resilient towards climate change, even then you often need a grant element in the financing structure. So these two things are combined in the DFCD. And if we can move to the next slide maybe to give some more flavor towards this. We have been working now for roughly 2.5 years. And what you see on this world map is that we have already 28 projects realized in the COVID environment, which is quite striking. And it proves actually that the model is working. That in this local environment, from a landscape perspective, in spite of the difficult circumstances, we were able to initiate projects and also to already provide long-term finance solution to around 10 projects around the world. It does work. Secondly, on the colors on the screen, you can see that the yellow ones are the origination projects, and the blue ones are the water projects, and the green ones are land projects. So these colors actually give either if it's initial stage projects, the yellow ones, or if it's water investment or land use investment. Many projects already, many varieties of stages at this point. But another thing I would like to add here, the 3 business cases we will see today in this session are also already on the screen, because what's mentioned by Aditya, all these 3 projects, we already work together with them. But today we are going to talk about giving them an extra 100%, 100,000 euros grant in order to even further increase their projects and make it even more relevant from a climate perspective. We have a couple of criteria, but we will skip that one. These are all on our website. These are the criteria we used for this challenge. The challenge insights, very briefly, because we need to run fast to the entrepreneurs, of course. We had 118 qualifying proposals received from these 3 countries. From the 118, 103 really came from the local entrepreneurs in the country. So not international developers, not large Western companies, but really local entrepreneurs. And if we move to the next slide, then it's also good to see what kind of sectors we talk about. These are the key sectors of DFCD, what you see pictured behind me, meaning actually that we do a lot of water projects, but also land-based projects for forestry and for agriculture and for ecological systems. So all these proposals were actually in the sweet spot of what we try to achieve. 100,000, we already mentioned it, is for the one of the 3 that we really think is the most qualifying to get some extra push for consultancy and capacity development, where we provide it at the end of this session. And that will be sponsored by the Building Prospect Fund, which is also a fund from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. What kind of criteria do these the panelists are going to use in order to make their decision? Because it's really exciting. Nobody knows who's going to win yet. It's up to the panel after the pitches of these entrepreneurs to decide who will be the winner and who will get the check. The first criteria is quite obvious. Is the money really used in the best way? Is it really needed for the project? Secondly, what is really the impact from the landscape perspective for the communities, of course, but also for the nature itself, for the environment. And the third one that's extremely important for us, that's the scalability. Has it the potential to really become big? The panelists will provide 1 to 5 points for each item, and the final score will decide who will be the winner. Well, I'm almost at the end of my story now, but maybe the last slide to show, and that's actually the keynote speaker of today. We are extremely happy that Ms. Kitty van der Heijden from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is willing to do the keynote speech of this session today. And she will join live on the screen now. So let's see if the technological environment works to have her on the screen now for the keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Hello there in Glasgow. Hi everyone online. It's a fantastic honor for me and a personal privilege, I would almost say, to join you online for this important challenge. Look, I was in COP until day before yesterday, and I had so many sessions, speeches, coming together, panels about how important this all was, climate change, and we have to do something. And I continuously heard three words, right? It was about ambition and more aspiration and acceleration and more action. And all of that is true and all of that is important. But there were hardly any events where the core of the matter was, what impact are we generating on the ground? What are we realizing currently? What do we learn from that? And how do we scale that? How do we go fast? Or, you know, in the words of Greta Thunberg, what I've seen is a lot of blah, but too little of ta-da, these are the results. This is what we are achieving. And this is the type of impact that really we need at this stage in the last few years that we have to keep the world of a degree and a half within reach, right? That's what we're challenged. That's our challenge. And so if you look at the negotiations, what we see is that sort of the glass is half full or half empty, whichever way you look at it. What I do know is that when it comes to funding and when it comes to addressing the climate change challenge, whether that's adaptation or mitigation, we do not need a glass full. We're going to need buckets full, if not truckloads of money, new money. And there's a huge gap between the funding needs and what we are leveraging at the moment. Quantity is not enough. The quality in terms of it being grants money is not enough. And accessibility is a real issue. Accessibility for the LDCs and accessibility for local organizations to leverage local knowledge and get that to scale. And this to me is where DFCD comes in. This is an instrument that brings all of that together. It is about quantity of money. It's about leveraging the private sector. It's about grant money, leveraging that private sector. And it's about working with local community. That's why DFCD was established, both adaptation and mitigation, and mobilizing private sector capital. I think Art mentioned that as the public sector, as the Dutch government, we're putting in 160 million. That's no small money. But if you then see what DFCD is aiming to leverage over and above 500 million, that is huge leverage. You know, if I was an investment banker, I'd be drooling. Where do you get this? Particularly in the difficult markets where DFCD is working. Because at its core, this fund strives not only to increase the quantity of climate finance, but then also to make sure that it works and flows towards the most impactful interventions and to reaching poor people. This is not about blah. This is about ta-da, the results. And that's what you saw on the map that Art just showed. You know, and it's a really unique combination of an FMO, locally embedded NGOs, financial partners that really allow this fund to build bridges between local needs for climate finance and the world of global finance that very often is too far away for local needs. And so I think this is really a unique fund, but even unique funds need unique progress. And the DFCD Scalable Solution Challenge really is that ability to leverage local innovation and to get those innovations to scale. You know, I'm a pessimist by science, having worked in the world of climate science for many years. I'm an optimist by will, but I am a damn optimist by the innovators that DFCD managed to find, you know, from bioelectricity out of waste in Uganda that also services refugee communities, to solar powered cold storage in Kenya that decreases crop losses for smallholders, to climate resilient seed in Bangladesh that will increase the resilience of farmers. If we can leverage that type of local innovations, we're benefiting real people, real lives. We're improving the prospect of keeping the world of 1.5 degrees within reach. We're making communities more resilient, and we're doing that in a way that is scalable through the private sector. To me, climate action is not just, or is not about emissions and how we bring them down. Climate action really is about people and how we lift them up, and how we provide the perspective of a life in dignity for communities that through our development aid, we aim to serve. That's where DFCD comes in. I am really interested to see who is going to win, who out of three. All three are winners. All the projects of DFCD are winners. They're doing the right thing. And I'm really keen now to hear from the three already winners, who's the winner out of the real winners. Back to you, Aditya.
Thank you very much, Kitty. So that was Kitty van der Heijden from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for squeezing us in your very busy COP26 schedule, Kitty. In the beginning part, we had a little bit of an issue with the slides, so I missed a few pointers for you. So especially for those of you that are sitting over here, to tease you a little bit, we have some surprise announcements towards the end of the event today. So that is the hook, also for everybody joining us online to stay till the very end. Yeah. Let me properly introduce to you the panel that we have here today. Towards my right, towards the very end, is Tigera Muzenda. He is the Regional Investment Officer for the Sub-Saharan region from SNV. Thanks, Tigera, for flying in. And then we have Joram Schraven, who is the Director of Impact and ESG at FMO. Wonderful to have you here. And we have Charlotte Floor, who is the Program Manager for DFCD at WWF. And last but not the least, it's Andrew Johnstone, who is the Director and the Chief Executive Officer of the Climate Fund Managers. He is going to be involved in one of the surprises towards the very end. Yeah. Now for the most exciting part of today, because today is really about the entrepreneurs that we're helping. And like the Kitty said, it's the work that they're doing on the ground. And it's not just talking, but it's about doing. These are the three projects that we'll be presenting today in this order. Soko Fresh from Kenya, Isfahani from Bangladesh, and Mandalis, who will be joining us from Uganda. Let's go on to the very first presentation of today. That will be Dennis Karema from Soko Fresh. Dennis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Dennis Karema. I'm the CEO of Soko Fresh here in Nairobi, Kenya. And I want to share with you the story of Soko Fresh. We in Africa have young people of great promise, and the backbone of our economy is agriculture. And as Soko Fresh, we are helping smallholder farmers to take their farming business to the next level. We see that the odds are stacked against smallholder farmers, and we are putting in a great and innovative business model that enables farmers to really make a great opportunity out of farming. And the way we do that is by tackling post-harvest loss. About 40% of all the produce that smallholder farmers here in Kenya produce goes to waste. And the reason for this is because of lack of cold storage and poor aggregation. And at Soko Fresh, we have a scalable climate smart solution that can take the distress of these farmers. And we have demonstrated that we are able to take post-harvest loss from the highs of 40% to the lows of 2%. And how do we do this? We do this in two ways. One, we avail mobile solar-powered cold storage, and this makes aggregation much better. And the second thing we do is that we connect farmers to the market through a market linkage platform. So let me share with you the touch points that we have with smallholder farmers. The first thing is we link smallholder farmers to demand for the produce. And this informs them of how much they need to harvest, when they need to harvest. And we then set up cold storage facilities close enough to these rural communities where all the harvested produce can be aggregated for 2 to 3 days awaiting collection by the buyer. And the last bit is that buyers either collect or we organize for transportation for this produce. The farmer gets paid for the produce and the farmer is able to pay an access fee for Socofresh services. And over the past year, we've seen great progress. We have been able to prove that this bundle service model works. We have worked with over 1,000 smallholder farmers. We've been able to demonstrate a 20% increase in their income, and over 100,000 kilos of produce have been safeguarded through the use of the mobile solar-powered cold storages. We have also seen increased participation of women smallholder farmers in our value chain. We are at 25%, and as I'll communicate a bit later, we are working to get this to 60% of women participation. And because we are leveraging purely on solar-powered cold storages, we also have a solution that is great for the environment. And just earlier this year, the World Economic Forum ranked Socofresh as one of the 17 most promising circular economy startups here in the world. But we need your help to be able to scale. The reason we are here is because we have great ambition. The challenge that we are solving is prominent here in Kenya, but as well across sub-Saharan Africa. We are currently at 9 cold storage hubs in 2021, and we have a great ambition that by the year 2024, we'll get to 190 cold storages, and we'll be able to serve over 152,000 smallholder farmers across Kenya. And there are 3 key things that we have to do to make this work. One is activating our solution in new value chains. The second one is setting up in new locations where more smallholder farmers can access this service. And the third is leveraging on investment in CapEx to be able to procure additional mobile solar-powered cold storages. And for the third building block, we are in the pipeline for DFCD. And for the other 2, we are here today to pitch why the 100,000 euros is critical and catalytic for Socofresh, because it enables us to do 2 of the 3 key things that are important for us to be able to scale. We are able to activate a new value chain, that's the banana value chain. And the reason we've chosen this value chain is, one, there is a great need for cold storage, but also it's a women-dominated value chain here in Kenya. And you're also able to set up in a new county called Meru that predominantly has bananas and has a big challenge of preservation of this produce and getting it to the market to get the right price. And so how are we going to spend the 100,000 euros? We're going to spend 60,000 of it in farmer engagement. And here our goal is to be able to grow our current database from 1,254 smallholder farmers to 7,500 farmers, and to increase women participation by recruiting women to be part and parcel of the customers accessing the Socofresh service. And how we do this is that we are going to add additional team members, farmer engagement staff, who are able to recruit farmers and demonstrate the service to them. And we are also going to further invest in our market linkage platform by spending 40,000 euros in enhancing the platform to accommodate the new value chain and to be able to handle the increased growth for Socofresh. The result of this is that the impact we see is that we are drastically able to reduce post-harvest losses by being able to prove the use case for Socofresh cold storage in a new value chain where farmers can access these mobile solar-powered cold storages. We will also be able to have 7,500 new farmers able to access the service, with 60% of them being women. as well as unlocking a minimum of 20% increased income by the farmers safeguarding the quality of their produce and accessing new markets that we enable them to access. It's also critical for our business because we are able to prove our model in a new value chain, and that's one of the building blocks to scale. And lastly, we are leveraging on solar power, so it's great for the environment. And also, we are saving millions of liters of water by preserving produce that would otherwise have gone to waste. So we welcome you to join us to solve this urgent issue affecting millions of smallholder farmers here in Africa. Thank you very much.
Well, yes. I was a little bit surprised when I heard people's clap because a lot of these events are happening online and suddenly we have this offline. That was actually very nice. Thank you. Dennis, there you are. Well, that was Dennis's 5-minute pitch. Jury, it's over to you. Who would like to kick off with questions? Please, Andrew.
Dennis, hi. Thanks a lot for a presentation. Really good presentation. I love the fact that part of your product is saving water and the water wastage that comes from that. I think that is fantastic. Being an engineer, I quite like to understand how things work. So I get that you're using solar power, which, as we know, works intermittently, and when the sun's down, it stops working. So what happens to the cooling system at night?
Thank you so much for the question. I can go ahead and answer. So we are using solar power technology that uses thermal storage. And so we are able to have 36 to 48 hours of cooling despite the changes in weather. We have actually seen that in the cloudiest month in Kenya, which is July, we are still able to preserve produce at 5 degrees Celsius using solar power 100%. And so the technology is built to work in remote areas and to store power in thermal form.
All right, Yoram.
Hi, Dennis.
Hello.
I'm not sure if you hear me like this. Otherwise, I'll take that one. So this is better, I think. So just to get a sense of the scalability of the model, I see that you're planning to scale up quite rapidly into the regions. Now, suppose we wanted to scale your business into the surrounding countries. What do you think are the 3 most important barriers to scaling to other countries, and how can we together overcome them?
Great. Thank you so much for the question. As I mentioned, we see that the challenge you're solving is rampant across most of sub-Saharan Africa. The key to scale for us is one, proving the model in each of the value chains, being able to show the benefits of the system, the advantage it has for farmers, and also the business case for us. The other key is unlocking financing because it's a capex heavy model. And the last one is really building a scalable market linkage platform that is able to serve by aggregating demand across new regions. So if we are able to secure demand for the farmers, we are able to secure the assets and able to prove the value in any value chain, then we have the blueprint to be able to scale across any part of sub-Saharan Africa and Southern Asia.
All right, thank you, Yoram. Tigere, your question?
Okay, thanks, Dennis, for your presentation. Customer acquisition, you have indicated you want to grow significantly from 1,000 farmers to 7,500. The question is, how practically do you expect to do this, given that you may not be the only one in the market? How do you incentivize farmers to come to your side? Thank you.
Yes, so thank you for the question. So there are quite a number of companies that, for example, offer produce preservation and others that offer access to market, but we actually are the pioneers of having a combination of these 2 services. And so what we have seen is initially we started off by having to go out and communicate our proposition to farmers and go through a customer acquisition journey. But now we are seeing farmer cooperatives actually lining up and coming to our offices, signing up their farmers because they have heard about what we do, they have seen the benefits, and because we bring a combination of demand and quality preservation, we offer a full suite of service that no other person is currently able to offer. And so by being able to prove the service and have farmers with more income in their pockets, they are able to be our ambassadors and bring others to us.
Yes, Charlotte.
Yeah, hi Dennis.
No.
Sorry, Dennis. Hi, thank you for your good pitch. My question is, how climate resilient is your business model? If there's, for instance, drought and there's less food produced, what does it mean for your business model?
Yes, so actually, in instances where there is drought, there is even a bigger need to preserve the little produce that farmers are still able to get at the end of the day. And so in one way, we are able to preserve the value of what is left, even with these big challenges. But then on the other end, what we see is that, for example, in value chains like mangoes and avocados, the trees themselves are quite resilient. So farmers are able, even with the changing weather patterns, to still go through the cycles of production. And it becomes a big challenge for them at harvest time to be able to still preserve the produce, because also the temperatures, the ambient temperatures are becoming higher and higher, which is really bad for quality preservation. And so I see our solution as really sort of the lifeline for farmers who work so diligently through the production cycle. And at the end of the day, when we are able to avail more income to these farmers, then they're able to invest in other things for production, like, for example, solar powered irrigation and assets that can really help them improve their production.
We move on to the next presentation. We would like to welcome Ms. Fauzia from Isfahani Agro Limited from the Bangladesh.
Good afternoon. Fighting climate challenge with one-stop agriculture. Bangladesh is one of the most climate challenge affected country in the world, while contributing only 0.47 carbon emission. Rise of sea level, salinity intrusion, drought, waterlogging, floods, etc. Several problems are already hitting Bangladesh. We targeted to address salinity affected southwestern delta and drought-prone northern region. We developed capabilities over the years that can be leveraged to adopt the climate change challenge we are facing. We developed an integrated supply chain, supply agro inputs to the farmer and safe food for the consumer. We are pioneer in commercializing biopesticide in Bangladesh. We experienced success in Parbon brand rice through seed to grain approach and garden fresh mango through farm to fork approach. So relying on our existing strength and understanding of the market need, we came up with our new business model, which addresses climate challenge change adoption through promoting technology adoption, ensuring capacity development, offering unparalleled market access to the farmer, guaranteed through guaranteed purchase and higher value. Our business model addresses the climate change challenge through a trial-tested innovative model. By merging forward and backward linkage, we plan to provide high-yielding climate resilient seed and biopesticide to the farmers on credit and buy back their produces and then after processing, deliver to the end consumer. Our business model introduced local business partners who are locally influential and capable of managing marginal farmers. We envision a large-scale impact in Bangladesh over the years. Through this collaboration, we'll develop 500 local entrepreneurs, cover 75,000 hectares of land, 500,000 marginal farmers, including 150,000 women. We also envision to reduce 50% chemical pesticide use and at the same time increase farmers' income 20%. The additional 100K will allow us to set a strong foundation for the business in coming days through capacity building in the early days. We'll be using 50K for women inclusion and development, 25K for financial risk management, and 25K for ICT-based traceability development. Increasing 100 number of female local business partner or entrepreneur will ensure more women inclusion early on in the mainstream agriculture value chain by breaking the social barrier. The process will increase the social acceptance of the project, setting a strong foundation to work with and before the full-scale launch. Secondly, 25K will be used as an extra cushion to assist the farmer in restarting in case of crop loss because of natural hazard, or this will create buy-in among the farmers to take the challenge for the new technology adoption under the concept of safe food production. We also plan to develop insurance policy for crop loss. We already started dialogue with the policymaker. And finally, ensuring traceability will create trust and accountability within the entire value chain. Building trust and creating connection between the consumer and the marginal farmer is the key to the success of the project. 10% additional women inclusion in the early stage will assure engaging more untapped labor force in future, and assurance of financial risk sharing will include additional 5% more marginal farmer, and traceability will help reducing additional 5% chemical use in the field level. This is the impact of additional 100K. Ladies and gentlemen, fighting climate challenge requires collective effort. Together, we can fight the vulnerability better. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Fauzia. Now time for questions from the panel. Who would like to kick it off? Charlotte, please.
Thank you, Fauzia, for your clear pitch. My question would be, how is this project contribute to a positive impact on nature and biodiversity?
We selected the area in the southern belt and northern belt. Southern belt because of sea level rise, already more than 100 kilometer salinity intrusion inside the inland. So there we will be introducing salinity tolerant seed variety, what we have already in our country, we have developed, and farmers are not aware about it. And in the northern belt, we heat tolerant seed variety. We have seen in our last year sales product basket, only 13% climate resilient seed were there. Farmers are not aware, there is no demand for it. Marginal farmers are affected, so they are losing yield every year. They are growing back from the cultivation practice. So we need to keep the awareness. We bring in farmer in the cultivation practice, so they are not reluctant to take the risk. We will give them seed, climate resilient seed and biopesticide on credit basis so that they will be interested, and later we'll demonstrate that so that other farmer will see physically the change between the traditional seed and the climate resilient seed. In that way, actually, we will involve the affected farmers. This project designed for adaptation, but through adaptation there will be some mitigation also, because we will be using biopesticide for the safe food production. So it will save the biodiversity, the balance of nature will be reinstated. In that way, will be saving the.
Yes, thank you, Fauzia. We have time for one more question only in this round. Yoram, it's yours.
So I really enjoyed how you are actually illustrating the expected impact of the capacity development money of the 100,000. What I would really like to,
so that they can handle the local farmer And in the forward linkage, they can work for the processing also. So we have a plan when to collect the safe food, establish processing sector in every area so that we can process and distribute to the farmer. When we involve a women local business partner, the women farmer will also be included, and forward linkage, from forward linkage also women will be included. So we'll select 100 specific women entrepreneurs from this area and train them and make them entrepreneurs.
Yes, thank you very much, Fozia, and thank you very much, Yoram. We're going to stick to the good mic. I hope that's the good mic. I'd like to take you a little bit behind the scenes of what happened before getting here. Yeah? I'd like audience to know that the winners or the top project for today is not being chosen just from this 5-minute pitches and the 10-minute Q&A. The jury had access to the profiles of the projects, so they were able to review the projects in advance. They had a better understanding of how this 100,000 euros are going to be spent in a practical sense. And we also had a session before COP where they were able to ask more questions to the projects as well. So based on all of that, and today we will be picking the winners. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the final presentation of today. Thank you, Fozia. And now we are bringing up Peter Nieko from B-Pearl, Mandalis from Uganda.
Good evening, everyone. Good to be here. Thank you all. The future does have a name, and its name is hope. A tiny flicker of light that feeds on hope is enough to shatter any shield of darkness. Mandalis delivers renewable energy and value-added services to address the many challenges faced by rural farming communities. These challenges are not only close to our hearts and Mandalis, but actually tell the story of mine and every early childhood spent in rural Africa. The reality that over 1 billion farmers across the world live without access to electricity. The majority of those are farmers, and they're in Africa. And for them, no electricity equals no agriculture processing. So they sell their crops straight from the fields at a minimum price. This perpetuates the cycle of poverty. On the other hand, billions of people across the world cook using wood fuels. This burden is heaviest on women and children who walk 3 hours every day scavenging for firewood. Now, for women like Annette, a mother in the greater Virunga landscape in Western Uganda, they risk being trampled by elephants, as her neighbor was a couple of months ago, while collecting firewood to cook food for her grandchildren. Now, even when they get home, and after they've cooked for their children, women and children are still forced to smoke so much. They inhale as much smoke as you're smoking 2 packs of cigarettes each day. I know it sounds sad, because it is, but there is hope. At Mandalis, we have a solution. We deliver productive energy that is affordable, reliable, and sustainable. We use bioenergy technologies to transform agriculture residues into electricity, clean cooking biogas, and biofertilizer. Our holistic approach to energy goes beyond electrons and links investment into electricity in urban areas with economic development in the surrounding rural communities. This differentiates our approach from other approaches to energy access. So we started in Uganda, where we have built some of the most affordable productive mini grids. We sell electricity off grid at the same price of electricity on grid, even for productive use. And we've got 20-year contracts already, and we're running. We're deploying our solutions across rural smallholder farming communities. And there, what we do is we provide thousands of farmers with access to clean energy alongside services such as processing, warehousing, and access to markets. So they link to people like Coca-Cola and Diageo already, but they also get access to clean cooking fuel. And all that happens through our digital platform called Chakula. So, but how does our solution actually work? Let me tell you more. So farmers onboarded onto our platform bring us their crops. which we then process into higher value products. This alone doubles their income. So the agricultural residue that remains is what we convert into electricity and clean cooking fuel alongside biofertilizer. And this definitely makes people's lives better. So by increasing rural household incomes, what we do is we create a loop, and that loop seeds both demand and supply. As farmers get wealthier, they farm more crops, they cook more, and use more of the energy and biofertilizer that we provide. And more than that, even when there are climate issues and issues with wildlife, we have a unique insurance system where by buying waste from them, we're able to pay them in terms of premiums, insurance premiums, so that even if elephants destroy their crops, they're covered. If lions eat their cows, they're covered. This integrated approach delivers energy security alongside food security, alleviates poverty, but crucially gives us climate resilience as well. As a result, our impact is immense. It's not just environmental. I know we save a lot of tons of CO2. 1 million trees each year saved makes a massive difference. But we can do even more. With your support, we can add an additional 60,000 refugee farmer households to our ecosystem. So I told you about a net earlier. On one side of the national park, we have a net in Kasese. On the other side, in Kamwenge, we've got refugee settlements. And we need those refugees to also access everything that Annette and her family are accessing. I know that. I was a refugee in a settlement when I was a kid, and I went collecting firewood with my mother. So I know how important that is. But how will we do that even more? We'll spend half the money on onboarding these refugee farmers onto our platform. We'll spend a quarter of the money to actually use satellite mapping to map those additional farms. And then we shall use another quarter of the money to actually improve our feasibility studies by inputting that new data to enable our expansion from just 6 projects across the Greater Virunga landscape in Uganda to actually 6 countries across Southern and Eastern Africa. And what will that look like? 60,000 refugee farmers impacted by our solution, doubling our impact to 1 million people, and growing the impact of our project across East and Southern Africa. Doesn't that sound great? Thank you for joining us on our mission to power a future of hope. Let's turn this into just what our colleague said earlier. Wow. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Peter. You're looking very well. You're joining us from a studio in Uganda. Let's take a question from the left side of the panel. Tigere, would you have a question?
Yeah. Thanks, Peter, for a wonderful presentation. I heard you talking about refugees and how you can scale up assistance to them. I wanted to understand, how else do you scale up your intervention? Because refugees are a captive market, they're in one place. Outside that, how else do you scale up your intervention among other farmers and capture them? Thank you.
Awesome, thank you very much. So in Uganda, where I live, where I'm from, there are 1.5 million refugees hosted here. And Uganda has a strategy where each refugee household actually gets access to farmland. And they live side by side with the host community of Ugandan farmers. So all our interventions in these ecosystems cut across both the Ugandan families and the refugee farmer families. Ugandan families might have more land. Refugee farmers also have access to land. And the idea is making sure that all of them are able to improve their access to our services, biofertilizer, etc., clean cooking fuel, and all the rest of that. So it cuts across. But the important thing of making more refugees being part of this is because they to cut firewood, the better it is we can improve that cohesion across the whole ecosystem. So it's not just refugee farmers, it's actually farmers in refugee hosting ecosystems. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Peter. Yoram, you have a question? Or do you want to pass on to
many,
the other
but
side?
maybe
you got many
first
questions.
here and
Yeah.
Hi, Peter. Andrew here. A technology question. Could you just say one or two words of what technology you actually use? How do you process the agri-waste? And a related question is you're aggregating waste from a community of farmers. How large is the catchment area? How far can you actually stretch to aggregate in the area?
Thank you very much. So first of all, in terms of technology, we use two types of bioenergy conversion technology. One of them is biomass gasification, which basically caters for dry agricultural residues such as maize cobs, rice husk granite shells, converting those into a syngas, which then powers a generator to produce electricity. But what's left out of that is a biochar, which helps with soil enhancement, especially when drought's there. It can help with soil water retention as well. The other technology is anaerobic digestion. And with that, we look at the wet biomass, such as the cow dung, etc. And when that goes in, we have a gas that comes out, a biogas, which we purify and goes into the generator as well, produces electricity. The excess biogas goes in cylinders for cooking, but the biofertilizer that's left behind goes in as a substitute to, non-organic fertilizer. So when you think about it, it's electricity on one side, clean cooking food on the other side, and soil enhancement on the other side. Thank you. And then in terms of the catchment area, we're looking at 6 locations with the current DFCD project across that region. And around each location, we work with electric vehicles, electric tricycles that have a range of 150 kilometers on a full charge. So we're able to work around each area in a catchment of 75 kilometers radius. And that allows us to work with up to 10,000 farmers around each location. But when we now add the refugee ecosystems next to it as well, because what's quite interesting is we have national parks, refugee settlements, and farmers all around each other. So that means we can now reach in the same, 75-kilometer radius, we can reach up to 20,000 people now, 20,000 families. So that's quite interesting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll have one last question, but I'd like to let the audience that's here with us know, after this after answering the next question, the jury will go away for about 5 minutes to deliberate. In the meantime, if you have any questions for the 3 presenters, we could also try to accommodate that. Yeah. All right, Charlotte.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for your presentation. My question is around the landscape approach and your engagement with local communities and the government and maybe the public energy sector in the Virunga landscape. Can you explain me a bit more about that?
Awesome. So all our projects start with an environmental impact assessment, and that includes engagement with the communities. So we work with farmer groups, and those farmer groups have got more than 2/3 actually, mostly mothers. And they have leaders within the groups, and we work with them directly, interviewing them, getting their input at the design stage of the project. We then take the project on to the authorities, such as the Regulatory Authority for Electricity. And then they also go back to the same community and find out if what we talked about makes sense. And then after a process that takes a few months, we then get authorized by the authorities to start work. But that also involves the National Environmental Management Authority, NEMA, as well, in that, as well as the rural electrification authorities as well. So you've got at least 3 different government, central government ecosystems involved, the local government ecosystem involved, and the local farmer groups at every stage of project development. And even when we have buyers such as Diageo and Coca-Cola coming to purchase from the farmers, we actually get their management teams to go with us to those communities and actually understand exactly what it means to, increase the income they make from processed crop from 100 euros, a ton to 300 euros a ton. That's what they know. Then they know exactly what it was going to cost. We even involve the communities in our processes. We've trained technicians from those communities, both the women and the men in the communities are actually working as part of our solutions. So they're very much part of us, and the ownership is real.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you, Peter. Now I'd like to ask the jury to go and do your deliberation about the winners. And while we build the suspense of who is going to be the winner, we can take some questions from the audience for our three presenters. I'd like to let you know that we know that the three countries where the projects are coming from are very vulnerable to climate change, but also the three of them are operating in specific landscapes within these countries that are specifically being addressed by DFCD. And this is the Soknat region in Kenya, and the Greater Virunga region in Uganda, and in the Bangladesh, it's the Ganges Delta region. Yeah? I'll kick it off with the questions to the three of you, and maybe somebody has a question as well. A question to each of you. What are you looking forward to the most in terms of implementing with the support of DFCD in the next year or so? Let's start off with Peter.
Thank you very much. What's really exciting and what we really look forward to is actually implementing this new, insurance scheme and helping farmers realize that whatever waste comes out of their fields can actually pay for the premium to cover whatever is on their fields from either drought, other climate issues such as landslides and so on, but also, most importantly, animals coming in to destroy their livelihoods, such as elephants trampling on their crops, lions eating their cows, and so on. This removes a crucial thing. It means farmers living near national parks no longer will have anger towards elephants or other leopards and so on. And that means a lot to me, because it means if an elephant tramples on you, you'll just smile about it and go, fine, we've got insurance. So that's what I'm really excited about trying out, is rolling this out, and getting more and more people finally appreciating the biodiversity even more.
That's a very great ambition to have, Peter. And we're talking about possibly, making a difference in that space in the next year or so. So that's really good to hear. Fawzia, can we hear from you, please?
Farmers are affected, but they don't understand why they are affected. The salinity, drought, then every year they are losing yield. So creating awareness, actually, it is a huge job. As I mentioned, we are pioneer in introducing like Spain or an individual country. Climate change effect is far more than the biopesticide, because we will be dealing with the extreme vulnerable people. A lot of people has to leave their house, so bringing them back and reinstate in the cultivation practice, it is a huge job. So we are taking this challenge. So we need our support from every corner so that we can face this challenge and we can actually scale up this project properly. We are hopeful that we targeted the initiation stage, we will be scaling up this, and after first year, we'll accelerate that scale up in all over the country. Then everywhere, actually, the problem with the value chain, we are addressing the value chain, and we had success in this year, in this sector. So we are planning to scale up in the other affected country also with this same concept. So we need support to accelerate this project.
Thanks, Fawzia. You said you would like to expand to a few other countries as well. Can you share them with us?
Yes, we have a plan to expand this a few other countries also. We already started working the groundwork. We started working with the biopesticide. When our project will be successful here, that the value chain, because we know that for a sustainable business, profitability of all stakeholder in the value chain is important. So we designed in that way that the business should be profitable for all stakeholders. So when it will be successful, we can actually replicate the same model in the other country also, because the agriculture value chain is almost same all developing countries. So we already started to exporting our biopesticide and trial in 2 other countries. We are hopeful that we will be able to scale up this project in these 3 countries.
Yes, thank you, Fawzia. Well, I think Dennis, let's hear you out as well. But the jury has reached a decision here, so we're building suspense. If you can keep your answer brief, I would really like to know who's the winner.
Yes, I'll be brief. I think the timing of DFCD for Socofresh is really, I would say, the best timing, because we're at the tipping point as a business. We have proven product market fit for our solution, and we are gearing up for scale. And so the impact for us of working with DFCD is that it enables us to be able to accelerate our growth as a business. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Charlotte, I heard it was a very close call.
Yes, indeed, it was. So first, before we going to discuss who's the winner for today, I would really want to give you some compliments about the pitches, but also individual. So I made some notes I really want to share with you. So I start with Socofresh. What really is impressive here is that we see they really address the SDGs. So the poverty, zero hunger, and climate action. Compliments for that. And also it empowers farmers to really shorten the supply chain and lay the groundwork for economic growth there. So big applaud for that. And then for the Ispahan. So I think a really challenging environment. Oh, I have to pick my notes, yeah. And what I find very interesting about your proposal is also that you address not only selling seeds, climate resilient seed, but also focus on educating and changing behavior with the local communities itself. So interesting, and I also think your solution for the insurance for crop loss is very interesting for the local community as well, and de-risks a lot. And for Mandulis, what we find here is very interesting how you really implemented the landscape approach and included the communities in your developing your proposal and your proposition. So big compliments for that. And also how you have developed an insurance for the wildlife. So if your crops are destroyed, that you really have a solution for the local farmers as well. So big compliments for that. So now the $1 million question, or should I say 100,000 question, is the winner for today. Congratulations, Mandulis Peter.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. That has not happened, and I know him for a while now.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Fawzia. Really, I'm going to come visit you in Bangladesh. And I think we need some of your biopesticides for our farmers on this side in Uganda. We'll definitely do that. And Dennis, we need your cold storage for our farmers as well. And we're going to work together. Much love. This has been a great team. And we've been together practicing these pitches for the last few. Thank you so much for the DFCD team and everyone from WWF and FMO, Climate Fund managers. It's been an incredible family. Everything since the beginning in June has just been incredible. So I'm actually quite emotional right now, but just really grateful. And my commitment is we're going to work together with all my colleagues here and make sure they come to Uganda and deliver their impact here as well. That's what we're going to do. And yeah, but more than anything else, really grateful to my dear parents who were refugees for a really long time and spent all their money to give me an education. And that's what's made this possible. So really grateful for that. And to my dear grandmother, Buro Onywalamach, Wapoyo Tutual. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. A very well-deserved thorough winner. And also, well, they're all going to be working together, and that's very nice to hear. And this is the first time we hear it publicly. I'd like to ask all the jury members to please come step down from the stage over there. Peter, we have, well, a present for you, and we know you couldn't make it here. So the jury is actually going to accept this. And Art, if you'd like to hand this over to the jury on behalf of Peter, please. All right. There you are, Peter. I hope you can see it clearly, what's on there. We will try to send you a version of this to you as well.
And I'd love to invite you all to come visit, come see the sites, come meet Annette. And everyone else, please do. There's so much you'll see here, which will be a blessing as well to you.
Perfect, Peter. Thank you very much. Thank you, jury. Please take a seat once again. And this is the part where we come to the surprise announcement that I promised you towards the very end. I would like to give the mic to Art Mulder, who is the fund manager of DFCD and our host for today.
Thank you very much. And what an inspiring session. We really enjoyed all the pitches, and what a fantastic 3 winners we have today here in Glasgow at the COP. Well, the 2 surprises indeed, that's for the end. The first surprise I would like to start with is actually when we look at this session with the whole challenge, we decided as DFCD to do a new initiative again next year, 2022. This new initiative will be for 4 new countries. It will not be exactly the same initiative, but we will guarantee you that this new initiative will also be about local entrepreneurship from a climate perspective, that's for sure. And we chose 4 new countries, 4 new very relevant countries that need to be actually more resilient to what climate change. In Asia, we choose for Laos and Cambodia. So these 2 countries will be in the picture next year for DFCD. And for Africa, we chose for Tanzania and Zambia. All these countries, we are going to work from a landscape perspective, and we are going to do a similar kind of thing as we did now, but different. And you will all hear more about that. That was the first surprise. The second surprise is the following. We also talked about 2 key things, projects to be realized, but secondly also, there's enough money, but how can we get this money mobilized? Actually, how can we get this money on board for the projects we visualize? And if we talk about money, we talk about big money. We all know the real challenge in the world. So we already said, we have a surprise that there is via DFCD, a couple of $100 million mobilized to do more in the climate space. And for that story, I would like to give the floor to Andrew Johnston for Climate Fund Managers. He will announce the news, and there will be right away a press release after this as well. Andrew Johnston, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Art. And ladies and gentlemen, both present here and online, thanks for joining us. As Kiki said at the beginning, really what the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development seeks to do is to provide a whole-of-life solution from supporting these fantastic innovators that we saw today, as well as mobilizing capital at scale. And part of what they've done is they've played a very critical, and so when I say they, the Fund for Climate and Development, played a very critical and catalytic role in providing capital, anchor seed capital, for the establishment of Climate Investor 2. Now, Climate Investor 2 is a blended finance investment vehicle focused on water, oceans, and sanitation area. And off a seed capital of €80 million, I'm proud to announce that today we've secured and closed an additional $595 million, which, thank you, which brings the total fund size to what you see on the slide of $675 million allocated for water, oceans, and sanitation in the tough markets that are surely underserved. So where this money is going to be spent is in low income and low middle income countries. And the way it's going to manifest is the statistics you see on the board here. We're seeking to give access to over 14 million people clean drinking water. In doing that, we'll also be processing 5.5 billion litres per day of wastewater. Through that activity, we'll also be displacing something in the order of 2.5 million tonnes of CO2 per year. And the breadth of the fund is very broad. In addition, it will look at protecting ecosystems, marine ecosystems, and wetlands. And additionally, through its revolving nature, it will make available for these markets in excess of $2.5 billion for those areas which are currently underserved. So in conclusion, oceans, water, sanitation, critically important for a sustainable future. And what Climate Investor 2 is a very strong statement of spending money where it's needed. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very proud day.
Well, there you are, everybody. So DFCD was started with an ambition to enable around or more than 500 million euros, for these categories that you saw over here. And looks like we're going to do a lot more than that. Yeah. So that's indeed a very proud moment for us. I would also like to say a word about, the DFCD consortium and all of our colleagues also that are not over here. As World Startup, you've been observing them very closely, and it's been incredible hard work behind the scenes that you can see over here. What you're seeing right now is, the good bits, the happy bits, the celebration bits, but there's a lot more hard work happening behind this. And I'd like to leave you with a personal note from my side. I believe that entrepreneurs are at the very center of the solution for the climate challenges that you're facing right now. And what I'd like to request you to do is do something to help them. It could be an introduction that you make to a strategic partner or investor. Please make an introduction to us at DFCD if you'd like to do that. Or just even get in touch with them and give them an encouraging word for them to keep on going. Let's do something in that regard, all right? With that, from everybody here at DFCD, I would like to wish you a very good day, and we hope to see you again in the future. Thank you very much.